until Buhari is arrested, until Malami is arrested, until everybody in their cabal, Tunde Sabiu, that Richard card seller, who is Buhari's private secretary, until all of them are arrested, this one is a joke. It was a Mefele that arranged for the judge, for the police, and everything to keep me detained. I'm revealing it to you today. He paid everybody. When I was released, he had the audacity to send a guy to me that he was the one who was teaching me a lesson. I told him that the lessons will go around. Sadly today, those people who were against democracy are the ones in power in Nigeria. Well, maybe the man who rigged himself into office now will say he fought for democracy.
Good day, welcome to another episode of What is Trending. My name is Angelo and you're welcome to Nation's Voice Tower. Yes, first on the updates, it's no longer news that Senator Godswill Akpabio has been confirmed as the Senate President of the 10th Assembly in Nigeria. This happened yesterday, and aside that, the updates pertaining to this particular occurrence and new political development is Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume, member representing Borno South Senatorial District, has exposed the role of President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the immense style he played in making Senator Godswill Akpabio Senate President. Now, recall that Senator Ndume was a stiff opposition to Akpabio during the build-up to the race for the Senate presidency. Now, the expose has shown the high degree of sentimental politics being applied by our politicians, as he revealed that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually sneaked out to beg and solicit for senators to vote Akpabio. This particular action by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not kind of we wouldn't say it's a sort of democratic movement, but we would say, although we are supposed to allow our own legislators to emerge as a result of merit, but we shouldn't be sentimental about voting someone who is or for a sensitive position as sensitive as that of the Senate President. Let me allow you to watch a brief clip from the interview granted by Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume.
This president, because he's experienced politician, played a lot of politics in it, so he deployed his foot soldiers to complement our effort, and that made a difference. The vice president was on it. He himself was calling some people. And this afternoon when we visited...
The President Tinubu called people by himself.
He went to some people even. It's politics.
He went to visit senators?
He sneaked out and visited some people, begged them to support. And he has his reasons. Somebody from South out to be the Senate President, or get somebody... because the South didn't have it since 1999. Now we have changed or made history by having somebody from South. And as you can see from day one, I don't know whether you listen to or you watch the.
All right, Senator Ali Ndume there. Well, the truth is this. It is no longer news that our own politicians do this, okay? So if the president of the country can be accused of going out of his comfort zone to solicit for support or to beg people to vote for a particular candidate for sentiment purposes, that means we are yet to reach that particular peak of democratic sort of governance that we have been craving for. We are yet to attain the height of a new Nigeria. We are yet to really reach the degree or the apex of a stable political system in the country, which is not supposed to be so. Well, the head of the country or the head of Nigeria, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should please check these issues, because as for me, these are allegations, all right? For Senator Ali Ndume to come out and make such a grave allegation on the number one man in the country, that is worth checking into. So investigations should be quickly propelled for this particular statement or this issue to be either checked accurately and immensely, okay? Although the voting and the election is already over, Akpabio is now the Senate President, but that doesn't mean we should sideline sentimental politics played by the President. Yes, in another development, Alhaji Musa Rabiu Kwankwaso, and about the ongoing rift between Kwankwaso and Ganduje. Kwankwaso, the presidential candidate of the NNPP, the New Nigerian People's Party, who is also the leader and founder of the same party, has come up to throw hot replies and responses to his former colleague Abdullahi Ganduje, the outgoing governor of Kano State. Amidst the ongoing rift between these two former Kano State governors, recall that Ganduje had thrown a jab at the former Minister of Defense a few days ago when he even threatened to slap him if they had met at the villa coincidentally. Now, addressing newsmen, Rabiu Kwankwaso gave a brief account of how Abdullahi Ganduje had diligently been carried along by him in all his political dealings and appointments up to the stage of being his successor in the Kano State Government House as governor after Kwankwaso left office in 2015. He went on to narrate how their relationship has turned over time and the manner Ganduje used to deter him from visiting Kano for over 3 years. Now, while he was senator, he also made different allegations about how Ganduje also made Kano State so uncomfortable for him to the extent that as a senator then, he couldn't step his feet on Kano soil even as directed by the Nigerian police force. Okay, now as a result of these particular issues, he has come up to grant this press conference and he has cleared the air on the issues on ground. And the issues on ground is about the incessant demolition of some infrastructures that the new governor of Kano State, that is Abba Yusuf, has felt to or feels to be unimportant, especially structures that were erected by the former government of Ganduje. Okay, now straightforwardly, former Senator Kwankwaso has alleged that the result of the rift between these three people is as a result of all the structures and illegal demolition of infrastructural developmental buildings and landed properties that were undertaken by the former Kano State government under his own regime. Let me allow you watch a brief cutaway from this interview and listen to the exposition that Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has to say on Ganduje and his illicit dealings in Kano State. Watch this.
The former governor, who is in our league now, former governors forum, is a member of our forum now, was our member, one of the senior members of Konkosia in Kano. He was my deputy governor in 1999. In 2003, when I was appointed Minister of Defense, he was my SA in the Ministry of Defense. After we finished in 2007, I came to this very villa to ask my brother, also somebody who was of class 1999, Umar Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory, and I appealed to him to give him job, because the job I had was NDDC, which was not enough at that time to make him my SA. So he was given the executive secretary of the Chad Basin Commission with headquarters in N'Djamena. That's 2007. 3 years after that, I invited him when I got ticket to resign and come and join me again. He resigned from his appointment to be my deputy again. And we won the election, 2011-2015. In 2015, because I wanted inclusive government, all our members to be together, I said, okay, take. And he became the governor of Kano State. And since then, you could see what happened in Kano. In fact, he had to stop me from going to Kano for 3.5 years. I was in the Senate. I couldn't visit Kano. Even the security, at that time, the police especially wrote letters to me that I should not go to Kano. And I stayed in Abuja for 3.5 years. And they brought everything, they put everything on the table to win that election. And they lost, just like they did in 2019. That time they had somebody to impose him. And this time around, this my senior brother here, he is a Democrat. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Even though I know he helped him in a way, being a member of his party, but he lost the election. So, having said that, I want to say that what is happening in Kano is one solid and concrete promise that the governor made that any building within government institutions, he will demolish them. Not plots, not anybody's house, any property in government premises, he will demolish them. And you see, on that, we saw even many people dying. If you go to Kano on the 29th of May, so many people lost their lives, even on that day, to bring this change to Kano. Governor then demolished everything there, the entire structures, worth billions of naira, and sacked all the students, and sacked all the lecturers. Demolished, and he was building, or they were in the process of building a mall where to buy and sell. And who owned that mall is him and his children. If you go to CAC, you see who owned the companies. That is one. Secondly, governor operated in Hajj camp. That Hajj camp was established immediately after the establishment of the Aminu Kano International Airport, the first airport in this country. In fact, that time people were coming even from outside this country to go to Hajj, from neighboring countries. Now, he demolished all of it, and he sold the plots, and they started building. And Abba demolished it. The owner came and said he knew he was wrong. He will not go to court. The third one demolished was at the heart of the race course, Kano race course. And that one is even owned by his children. The fourth one, which I discussed with Mr. President now, which he started, the governor started, is at the center of Eid ground. Eid, for those of you who are Muslims, they know what I mean. Those of you who are not Muslims, Eid ground is a prayer ground that is being utilized twice a year. And that ground is as old as Islam in Kano State. He did not build around the periphery. He went inside. He went the perimeter one round. He has done the second round. Now he is at the third round.
If you'll ask me, I will say this particular expose by Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso is so interesting, and we wouldn't quickly write it off or relegate this information to the background. Yes, Ganduje came out a few days ago to grant a press conference at the villa to say that there were issues pertaining to demolition of structures that were erected during his regime. Now, Kwankwaso has come out to give a brief address and to explain vividly and clearly, crystal clearly, let me say, issues pertaining to the demolition of those structures. We've seen outrightly, we don't know yet, that Ganduje has actually crossed his line as a politician and as a governor in the state, because I believe there is hierarchy anywhere you go to. And as a former member of the Kwankwasiya movement under the Musa Rabiu Kwankwaso, the founder of the New Nigerian People's Party, you are supposed to respect your principles and make innovations or make political movements that would actually applaud and will pave way for more or better politicians to come through. So with the recent recent and incessant nonchalant behaviors undertaken by Ganduje, demolishing and building structures personal to him, demolishing government structures and accruing sorts of unimaginable wealth to himself and his family, as alleged by Kwankwaso there, we are so wrong for him to do, okay? And the new governor, Abba Yusuf, also known as Abba Gidegida, has come out and vowed to demolish all structures that are not linked or are not actually affiliated to the government structures that have been in state during the Kwankwasia movement during the Kwankwaso regime in or before 2015, and this has been the issue and the reason between the rift and the unresolvable issue and quarrel between these three people: Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, Abdullahi Ganduje, and Abba Yusuf, the new Kano State governor, also known as Abba Gida Gida. That is that on that particular update. Finally, I have something different from the ordinary. I always keep the last or the best for the last. The presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC, in the just concluded general elections, Omoyele Sowere, has blown hot again. This time around, he has called out those he described as fake politicians and has even gone as far as calling out the president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Sowere, who is a human rights activist, based and hinged his address on the June 12th saga and made comments that depicted that he was in no way in support of all who took the glory for the democracy of Nigeria when they had put in little or no efforts in the struggle. The founder of Sahara Reports, who has been in and out of detention over activism and revolutionary movements, left no stone unturned while he addressed the crowd. He also exposed the role the former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, played in his arrest and detention. He spoke of how Emefiele paid the Nigerian police force to ensure his arrest and ensure his suffering behind bars. Let me give you a brief cutaway from the long address he gave to our people during a just concluded movement he actually organized. Let me give you with Sowere, because he's always somebody who is dogged and straightforward in whatever he says. Only for his activism and all his human rights movements, you would know him as someone who says it straight and says and mean what he says. Watch this.
Sadly today, those people who were against democracy are the ones in power in Nigeria. Well, maybe the man who rigged himself into office now will say he fought for democracy. But the conversation is not about what he did and what he didn't do for today. Because most of them who claimed they were fighting for democracy actually ran away from the fight. We were the ones, as young people, who stood behind and fought the military until the military left power. But 30 years later, you cannot say today that we have democracy. What we have now, nobody can define it as democracy. What we have now is sorrowcracy. That is government of sorrow for people who are always cheated out of their dividends of democracy. Tinubu came, he hasn't even lasted 2 weeks. Two things were of concern to him: how to punish the poor. And who are the poor? The same people who have always been cheated out of the Commonwealth of Nigeria. They removed fuel subsidy. I had the audacity to say that our people have been asked again to make some little sacrifices. I mean, how many sacrifices do you want from us? Especially when his friends, the rich, are getting richer on a daily basis, and the poor are getting poorer on a daily basis. That is no more sacrifice that our people can offer. But the reason why they did that was because they don't want you to enjoy any democracy. As far as they are concerned, the only democracy that is acceptable to them is democracy that puts them permanently in power. The second thing Tinubu did was to talk about how to fight to restore oil exploration in Niger Delta region. Because those are the only things that concerns them. Nobody is talking about how to end Boko Haram. He's not talking about how to end banditry. It is how to export the Lagos model of democracy to Abuja and nationalize it, which is this agberocracy that they do in Lagos. So I want to say this to so many of you, because I've been hearing this from the grapevine, that Yoruba people are saying, this is our turn, whether he rigged the election or not. Since your people have been doing democracy of the warped type, Yoruba land has never progressed. Yoruba can only progress when you have the right people in power. And that is why the last time anybody had it right here was when Awolowo was in power. And it was because he had a great character. Not because he was able to bulldoze his way. And after Awolowo was bulldozed out of office, those who did it have not had peace till today in Nigeria. So as you know, anybody can say that it is because Sowere contested and lost the election in 2023. I did not lose election in 2023 because there was no election in 2023. You are hearing it from me. What they did was selection. That is why when they were about to allocate numbers as usual, one of the most important numbers to allocate was Sowere's numbers. Give him small numbers so that people can mock him. But since they ended the election, the person who claimed to have won the election cannot jubilate. Let me tell you something. When I was arrested in 2019, it was Emefiele that arranged for the judge, for the police, and everything to keep me detained. I'm revealing it to you today. He paid everybody. When I was released, he had the audacity to send a guy to me that he was the one who was teaching me a lesson. I told him that the lessons will go around. Shebi, you are teaching me a lesson. I'm not the one teaching him a lesson. But the lesson is not the kind of lesson we should mock anybody about. Because until Buhari is arrested, until Malami is arrested, until everybody in their cabal, Tunde Sabiu, that Richard card seller, who is Buhari's private secretary, until all of them are arrested, this one is a joke. After a while now, they will release Emefiele. Emefiele might even be contesting for governor of Delta State in another 2 years or 3 years. That's Nigeria for you.
Okay, all said and done, I would urge you, please, all our incoming and already existing subscribers, tap the subscribe button and don't forget to also tap the notification bell so you could get updates anytime we drop new content on this particular channel that brings you updates on politics and the democratic movement back to back to back. And before I go further, I would love to give a brief analysis on what Sowere said there. The truth is, Nigeria is supposed to be a democratic system as a federating state, but from all indications, we ain't experiencing democracy in any way, because over time we've seen people jump into power with their own wealth. We've seen people point at different issues that don't really accrue to a democratic government. In the just completed elections, we've seen results being announced even without coalition, which is supposed not to be so. And we have also seen different sorts of wanton killings around the country, in the southeast and in the north central part of Nigeria, which is not supposed to be so. All these things are issues bordering to the polity of Nigeria that is supposed, in quote, to be a democratic state, which in no way in the past 10 years we haven't seen issues, or we haven't really experienced democracy in its full state. So I would urge we all as young Nigerians to put our hands on deck to see that we work positively for the emancipation of this country and for the upholding and for the advocacy of a democratic state. Thanks for joining us. Keep a date with us later for my next update. See you next time. Bye.